Hi friends, if you are new to the Scrum Master role or even if you have a wealth of experience, but joining a new team means getting up to speed with new people, processes and products. In order to get a good idea of how your new Scrum team are operating, these are the 15 questions for you to ask. This list of questions cover all the various topics you are likely to want to know more about. So gather your new Scrum team and ask these questions. Hello friends, my name is Sunan Sharma and welcome to our YouTube channel Career Talk. I'm Agile consultant and if you're visiting our channel Career Talk first time, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And at the end of the video, friends, if you like my efforts, please hit one like. Your one like is big motivation for me. So friends, let's start with 15 questions a new Scrum Master should ask to their team. So question number first is how long does the refinement of a user story take? Sometimes friends, a Scrum team take too long to discuss each user story in refinement. As a Scrum Master, you need first to understand your team, how mature the team is with the Scrum framework. Is it their first time doing backlog refinement? Is it a new project at its early stage? How is the PO participation to the refinement? The only relevant question during the refinement is, do I understand this sufficient to move it a step ahead? If the answer is no, define what necessary action that need to be taken to move it ahead. Do we have a clarification in terms of business or technical ready at hand? Or if not, then assign these next steps to someone and move on to the next item. Basically, the long discussions are the result of lack of next step. People want to solve the entire problem while all that they require at that time is a single step, which will allow the item to move. So if the next step is unclear, friends, please park that item for a time being. The next question is, how are user stories created? Are they written by the product owner and estimated by the team, or it's a joint effort? So friends, user stories are written by or for users or customers to influence the functionality of the system being developed. So in some teams, the product manager or the product owner is responsible for formatting all these user stories and organizing them into a product backlog. In other teams, anyone can write a user story. So user stories can be developed through discussions with the stakeholders. So as a Scrum Master, you should be aware about the same. Next question is a definition of ready standard apply to user stories? So friends, for all the Scrum teams, this should be a standard practice. And if it is not, it can contribute to a volatile velocity. Having a definition of ready means that stories must be immediately actionable. The team must be able to determine what needs to be done and the amount of work required to complete the user story or PBI. So again, it's an important question to ask to your team. The next question is, what is your criteria for definition of ready? So it is good to ask criteria for definition of ready. It is a working agreement between the team and the product owner on what readiness mean for them. So it's an input criteria to plan a story in a sprint. It's a way for a product owner to indicate an item in the product backlog as ready to work in a sprint. So example of DOR can be many. You might be aware about like the acceptance criteria have been defined. The user stories can be delivered within one sprint, or the UI deliverables are available, or probable dependencies are identified, performance criteria and tracking is defined. So many. So there are, it's up to, it's again depend on team to team, right? So the team has a good idea what it will mean to demo the user story. All this will come under definition of ready. So it's always good to know what is the criteria of definition of ready for the team. The next question is, who is responsible for writing acceptance criteria and what format is used? So it is important, it is vital to understand everyone's responsibility within the team. So for some clients, there is a product owner who writes the user story and the acceptance criteria. It is generally accepted by everyone that acceptance criteria should be available before the development of the work begins. So the question is around who should be writing the acceptance criteria. Specifically, the PO creates a backlog item with initial acceptance criteria and shows it to the team in a backlog refinement. And if needed, they collectively create more acceptance criteria. So, but while the backlog item should be ready before development starts, it is not uncommon that during act of development and testing, you might have come up with new questions which require the PO's input, and the answer to those may result in updated acceptance criteria. So, according to new release of Scrum Guide 2020, the product owner may do the above work or may delegate the responsibility to others, but regardless, the product owner remain accountable. So it's always good to know who is creating the acceptance criteria in your team. The next important question is, how does the estimation process work within the team? So this is often best observed in real life, but asking the question can give you a good indication or perspective about how your team is doing the estimate. So the main principle behind estimation, agile estimation, are like user relative estimation, allow discussion to derive more information about the item, create mutual understanding and respect about the solution. So many of the agile teams I know are using some form of planning poker for their agile estimation, but there are agile estimation technique as well. For example, beyond planning poker like t-shirt size, dot voting, the bucket system, and so on and so forth. So it is good to know as a Scrum Master how your team is doing the estimation. The next question is, what was the velocity of the last 3 sprints? So every Scrum team should be aware of their velocity. A team velocity tells you how much relative work they are able to complete within a given time frame. So what velocity is considered good, it depends entirely on your team. So your goal should be to find and optimize a sustainable pace of work for your team. So it's a good question to ask. The next question is, are user stories re-estimated at the end of a sprint? Again, a very good question to ask. So many questions that pop up in a Scrum teams with undone work related to estimation is like at the end of the sprint, if they find for some of the user stories which are unfinished. So should we re-estimate undone work in Scrum? If we do, how do we get credit for the work done previously? If we don't, how do we account for new size efforts of the work to be done? So there are 4 ways to deal with estimation and undone work in Scrum. And let me know in the comment section if you want to had a detailed video on same. So there are 4 different approaches. The very first approach is keeping the first estimate. The second approach is re-estimate the work remaining. The third approach is re-estimate to accommodate work done plus work remaining. And the fourth approach is splitting the item to account for work done. That means a partially work being delivered, and re-estimate the part of the work remaining separately. So again, it's a good question to ask. The other question is, how many user stories are not finished within the last sprint, and did we know why? So the second part, did we know why, is more important. So if a team is regularly leaving user stories on board because their estimation were wrong, then this can be cause for concern. And as a Scrum Master, you should be try to find the root cause. The next question is, what are the top 3 obstacles or the challenges or the issues team is facing currently? So this question can help to indicate where your focus as a Scrum Master should be. The next question is, are there dependencies on other teams? If so, what are they? So it is vitally important to understand if the Scrum team is waiting for other teams to complete their task, if there is any sort of dependencies. So you can work with the team and able to resolve those dependencies. The next question is, as a team, what more can be done to support each other to meet team's goals? So as a Scrum Master, it is important that you understand how well the team work together. The next question is, what key success factors are used to achieve team goals? So by discussing key success factor, project level risk and issues can be identified very easily. So again, it's a good question to ask. How should success in achieving the goal be celebrated? So the team should be able to visualize and expect success on the project. So having this conversation will help you to understand rewards that are being meaningful to the team. Again, a good question to ask. And what are the three teams' goals for the project? So discussing the goal with the team can help to bring out other goals. Friends, that are not always share obvious. Your questions which you might can help you to understand the team motivation and apart from these 15 questions which I have jotted down over here. And please do not forget to click the red subscribe button and a big like. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more such videos. Have a nice day.